I'm Nora, 32, perched on the edge of my couch in a shoebox apartment in Asheville, North Carolina. It's midnight and the hum of cicadas seeps through the cracked window. In my hands, I hold a small woven bracelet, its faded blue and green threads fraying at the edges. It's nothing fancy, just a trinket my aunt gave me when I was a kid, but it's my anchor. A reminder of a time when I believed family meant weaving everyone's threads into one strong cord. For years, I poured my soul into keeping our family's community garden alive, only to watch my cousin, Elise, claim the glory. I was the one digging in the dirt, balancing budgets, and losing sleep, but to everyone else, I was just the helper. When a single lie unraveled everything, I made a choice that broke my world open. This is how I learned that love doesn't mean fading into the background. It's about standing tall, demanding your place, and stitching your own story. The Green Haven Community Garden sits on a half-acre lot behind a sagging chain-link fence, its raised beds bursting with tomatoes, kale, and sunflowers. It's been the heart of our neighborhood for decades, a patch of hope where retirees' kids and single mums grow food and swap stories. My dad Marcus started it in the 80s, back when Asheville was scrappier, less touristy. He's retired now, his knees too creaky for digging, but he still shuffles down to check the compost bins. My mum, Ruth, handles the volunteer roster, her laugh loud enough to coax even the grumpiest gardeners out of their shells. Elise, my cousin, is the face of Green Haven, charismatic, camera-ready, always posting about saving the community on social media. Me, I'm the spine. At 20, I planted seedlings. At 25, I wrote grants. By 30, I was the one keeping the gates open. It started quietly, the way unfairness creeps in. Elise was the star, 4 years younger, with a knack for making people listen. She'd pitch ideas at our monthly meetings, beehives, a kids program, a mural, and Dad would nod, like she'd cracked the code to world peace. Never mind that I was the one researching hive costs, drafting lesson plans, or finding a muralist who'd work for free. Elise got the cheers. I got a thanks, Nora. You're a rock. Rock. Solid, unremarkable, stepped on. By 2023, Green Haven was in trouble. The city raised the lot's lease fee, a budget cut slashed our funding, and a drought withered half our crops. Dad's savings were gone. Mum's optimism wasn't enough. And Elise? She was busy building her brand as a local influencer, flitting between yoga retreats and podcast interviews. She'd drop by the garden once a month, pose for photos in overalls, and leave before the sweat set in. Her posts racked up thousands of likes with captions like, "Keeping my family's legacy alive at Green Haven." People ate it up. Donors sent checks because of her. I stepped in because no one else would. I quit my freelance editing job to manage the garden full-time, unpaid, living off savings and odd gigs. I wrote grant applications until my eyes burned, secured $15,000 from a local foundation, and convinced the city to defer the lease hike. I bartered with hardware stores for discounted tools, organized workdays, and taught kids to plant carrots. My apartment became a storage unit for seed packets and shovels. I ate canned soup, wore the same boots until the soles split, and skipped doctor visits to save cash. The woven bracelet stayed on my wrist, its threads a quiet promise to Aunt Clara, who died when I was 15. "You're the glue, Nora," she'd said, tying it on me. "Hold things together, but don't let them unravel you." Green Haven pulled through. The beds bloomed again, volunteers returned, and a local news crew filmed a segment, Green Haven, a family's fight for community. Elise was front and center beaming, talking about our vision. My name came up, once in passing, as Nora, who helps out. Dad framed the article, hung it in the garden shed. I told myself it didn't matter. The garden was alive. That was enough. But the imbalance grew. Elise would swoop in for events, all smiles and big ideas. She'd promise corporate sponsors or TV appearances, and Mom would gush, "Elise is our miracle worker." Dad would chime in, "She's got your aunt's spirit." I'd stand there, dirt under my nails, knowing those sponsors never materialized. Knowing I'd spent my last $200 on drip irrigation the week before. Knowing the grant deadline was looming, and I'd be up until 3 a.m. writing it. Still, I stayed quiet. I'd twist the woven bracelet, its frayed threads grounding me, and keep going. The breaking point came last summer during our annual harvest festival. The garden buzzed with life, kids painting pumpkins, neighbors trading zucchini, a bluegrass band strumming under a tent. I'd been up since dawn, hauling tables, stringing lights, coordinating vendors. Mom manned the jam stall, her hands sticky with peach preserves. Dad gave tours pointing out the heirloom tomatoes. Elise arrived late in a flowy dress holding a megaphone. She rallied the crowd, thanked sponsors I'd secured, and announced a new initiative for cooking classes, an idea I'd pitched months ago. The crowd clapped. She soaked it in. Then it happened. A reporter from the Asheville Citizen-Times covering the festival pulled Mom aside. I was nearby, stacking chairs close enough to hear. "Ruth, your garden's a lifeline for this community. Elise says she's been funding it personally. How's that support kept you going?" My stomach dropped. Funding Elise hadn't given a cent. Every dollar my grants, my savings, my bartered deals was mine. I waited for Mom to correct her, to laugh it off. She didn't. She smiled, eyes shining. "Elise has been our rock. Her contributions keep the soil fertile, you know." I froze a chair, slipping from my hands. Elise was across the field, posing for photos, oblivious or uncaring. The reporter nodded, jotting notes. I looked at Mom, willing her to glance my way to see the truth in my face. She didn't. The woven bracelet felt tight on my wrist, like it was cutting into my skin. Aunt Clara's words echoed, "Don't let them unravel you." But I was unraveling thread by thread. That night, alone in my apartment, I untied the bracelet, held it under the lamp. Its colors were dull, worn from years of wear. I'd kept it on through every grant, every sunburn, every sleepless night. I'd thought my work would weave me into the family's story. But I was just a loose thread, easily snipped. Elise's lie wasn't just a mistake, it was theft. She knew I was the one holding Green Haven together. She let them believe it was her. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did something drastic. I stopped writing grants. I kept the garden running. Watering, weeding, basic upkeep, but the big stuff. The funding applications, the donor outreach, the city negotiations, done. I used my editing gigs to pay my rent, bought new boots, ate actual vegetables. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of freedom, like a thread, pulled tight, was finally loosening. 2 weeks later, the garden faltered. The city sent a lease renewal notice, with a deadline we couldn't meet without new funds. Volunteers grumbled about broken tools we couldn't replace. A donor called confused, asking why our annual report hadn't arrived. Mum's laugh grew strained. Dad's tours shorter. Elise still posting her garden vibes. Selfies didn't notice until Mum called, her voice trembling. "Elise, the garden's in trouble. Your funding? It's not coming through." "What's wrong?" I wasn't there for the call, but Mum told me later. Elise stammered. Blamed sponsor issues, promised to fix it. She didn't. She couldn't. Because the money, the work, the glue, it had always been me. The garden soil is damp under my boots, the air sharp with the scent of crushed mint. It's 7 p.m., 3 weeks since I stopped writing grants for Green Haven, and the place feels like it's holding its breath. Mum's at the shed, sorting seed packets, with a frown that's new and deep. Dad's poking at a wobbly fence post, muttering about costs we can't cover. I'm hauling mulch bags, the woven bracelet loose on my wrist, its frayed threads catching on my sleeve. I haven't told them I've pulled back, or why. But the garden's wilting, and the lie Elise spun is starting to choke us all. After the Harvest Festival, when Mom told that reporter Elise was funding Green Haven, I waited for her to backtrack. She didn't. Elise didn't either. She just posted more selfies. Captioned "Growing love at Green Haven." I thought she'd call, confess, maybe laugh it off as a mix-up. Nothing. Just silence from her trendy loft downtown, while I kept the garden alive with my grants, my savings, my sweat, my $15,000 foundation, grant my bartered tools, my skipped dentist appointments. They were ghosts. Elise's Instagram, glow solid gold. The betrayal wasn't just her lie, it was her knowing I was the one carrying the load and letting me fade. Stopping the grants was my first real pushback. I kept the garden's basics going, watering, weeding, teaching kids to prune. But the big moves, donor letters, city pleas, budget proposals, done. I funneled my editing gigs into my own life, paid my water bill, bought a decent coat, ate chicken instead of soup. The woven bracelet stayed on a quiet nod to Aunt Clara's words. Don't let them unravel you. I wasn't sure what staying woven meant, but I was tired of being cut loose. The garden felt it fast. The city's lease renewal notice sat unanswered, a $5,000 bill we couldn't pay without new funds. Volunteers griped about dull shovels and cracked watering cans. A major donor, Mrs. Caldwell, left a voicemail annoyed about our missing annual report. Mum's laugh turned brittle. Dad's tours sluggish. Elise kept posting sunflowers overalls. Community first. But she didn't show up. Mum called her last week, voice shaking. Elise, the garden's struggling. Your funding's gone. What's happening? I was mulching nearby, close enough to hear Mom recount it later. Elise fumbled, blamed sponsor delays, swore she'd sort it out. She didn't. She couldn't. The funds were mine, always had been. Mum turned to me after eyes pleading, Nora, you're good with paperwork. Can you check the budget? Maybe we missed something. I wanted to shout it. There's nothing to miss. It's me. I'm the one you're missing. But I swallowed it, nodded, said I'll look. The bracelet's threads brushed my skin, a faint reminder of Clara's strength. Why was I still silent? Why was I shielding her? Elise texted me that night, her first message in weeks. Hey Nora, Mum's stressed about the garden. You got any leads on funds? No sorry, no hint she knew what she'd done. Just breezy like I was her assistant. I stared at the screen fingers itching to type the truth. My grants, my sacrifices, her lie. Instead I sent Ask Mom. Short, sharp. I tossed the phone aside, let her stew. The next day I met my friend Jamal at a coffee shop, a rare splurge, now that I wasn't pouring every cent into the garden. Jamal's a carpenter, gruff but kind. The guy who'd fix our garden trellises for free and never take credit. Over black coffee, he clocked my tension. What's eating you, Nora? You're wound tight. I spilled at the grants, the late nights, Mom and Dad's blind faith in Elise's promises, the festival, how Elise claimed my work, how Mom backed her up. Jamal's jaw tightened. She's riding your coattails and you're letting her. Why not tell them, show the receipts? I twisted the bracelet, its threads worn but holding. I thought they'd see it. The grant letters, the donor emails, they've got my name. And I didn't want to look desperate, like I need applause. Jamal scoffed. Desperate. You're keeping their dream alive while eating beans. That's not desperate, that's heroic. Speak up or she'll keep stealing your light. He was right, and it burned. I'd been the rock, the one who fixed leaks and wrote proposals. I thought my work would shout for me. It didn't. It just buried me deeper. The bracelet felt heavier. Clara's words sharper. Hold things together. I was holding, but at what cost? The garden's next blow came Friday. The city emailed a final lease warning, pay $5,000 by month's end or lose the lot. No garden, no green haven, no legacy. Mum called a family meeting in the shed, her voice thin. Dad sat on a crate, hands clasped too tight. I leaned against a rake pulse racing. Elise joined by video, her face framed by fairy lights like she was on vacation. Mom started clutching a crumpled notice. We're out of time. The city's serious. Elise, you said sponsors were coming. Where are they? Elise shifted her smile, flickering. It's tricky. My contacts are reevaluating. I'm pitching a big corporate deal, though. Could be huge. Dad's voice was flat. Could be don't pay bills, Elise. We need cash now. I gripped the rake, the bracelet's threads digging in. This was my chance, tell them the grants were mine, that Elise's contacts were smoke. But before I could, Elise leaned in, voice bright. I've got a TV producer interested, a segment on local heroes. It'll bring donors, I promise. Mom's eyes lit up desperate. That's our Elise. Always a step ahead. I couldn't breathe. She was doing it again, dangling dreams, stealing space. My space, my work. The bracelet burned against my wrist. Clara's voice loud now. I opened my mouth, but Dad cut through. Nora, you handle the grants. Why haven't we got anything new? The blame stung like a wasp. Me, the one who'd saved us. I stared at him, words choking. I've been managing what we have. There's no new money because Elise's sponsors fell through, Mom said soft, but certain. It's not on you, Nora. You're doing what you can. What I can. The words seared. My can was $15,000 in grants, bartered tools, a life on hold. My can was invisible and Elise's fantasies were treasure. I looked at her on the screen, her easy grin, and something cracked inside, quiet, final. I'll dig into the donor records, I said, voice steady. I need all the grant files, every submission. Mom frowned. You've got those, don't you? I need to double check, I said, eyes on Elise. Her smile twitched just for a second. She knew. That night I sat at my desk, the woven bracelet beside my laptop. I pulled every grant file, 2 years of proposals, budgets, emails. My name on every one, every dollar traced to me. I printed them, a thick stack of truth, and slid them into a binder. I didn't know how I'd use it. Hand it to Mom. Leave it in the shed. Send it to the city. But it was mine, and it felt like power. The next morning, Mrs. Caldwell, our donor, called me directly. Her voice was crisp. Nora, your grant report stopped. I saw your name on every submission. What's going on? My heart skipped. My name, not Elise's, not Greenhaven's, mine. Someone saw me. I apologized, promised an update, hung up. I touched the bracelet, its threads soft now, guiding. I wasn't a ghost, not to everyone. Elise texted, an hour later, tone too casual. You're checking grants. Find anything weird? I smiled cold, just making sure it all lines up. She replied fast, cool, let me know if you need my contacts. I'm fine, I texted back and blocked her. The binder sat next to the bracelet. Elise's knot was loosening, and I was ready to pull the thread. The garden's gate creaks as I lock it, the dusk sky bruising purple over Asheville's hills. It's 8 p.m., 4 weeks, since I stopped writing grants for Greenhaven, and the place feels like it's fraying at the seams. Wilted kale sags in the beds, tools lie scattered, and the city's $5,000 lease notice burns a hole in my bag. Mom's at home, probably staring at unpaid bills. Dad's avoiding the garden. His pride stung. I'm clutching the binder of grant records, my name on every page, and the woven bracelet is back on my wrist, its threads tight but holding. I've been waiting for the truth to break free, and tonight it does by accident with a force I didn't see coming. Since the family meeting where Elise dangled her fake TV deal, I've kept my distance, physically and emotionally. Her lie at the Harvest Festival claiming she funded Greenhaven still stings, but it's her silence that cuts deeper. She knows I secured the $15,000 grant, bartered tools, gave up my savings. She let Mom call her the Rock, while I was just Nora who helps. I thought she'd crack admit it. Maybe text an apology. Instead, she's doubled down, posting about big things coming for the garden, all hashtags and filters. My binder packed with proof sits heavy in my hands, but I haven't shown it. Not yet. I want them to see it without me begging. Pulling back from grants was my rebellion, quiet but sharp. I've kept the garden's basics alive, watering, pruning, sweeping, But the big stuff, donor reports, city negotiations, funding, please over. My editing gigs now cover my rent, a new jacket, actual groceries, the woven bracelet. Aunt Clara's gift feels different now. Not a weight, but a spark. Hold things together, she'd said, but don't unravel. I'm trying, but the garden's unraveling without me, and part of me hates it. Part of me feels alive. The cracks are glaring now. The city's lease deadline is 10 days away, and we're $5,000 short. Volunteers have dwindled, frustrated by broken hoses and no new seeds. Mrs. Caldwell, our big donor, emailed again, demanding the overdue report. Mum stopped laughing, her eyes hollow. Dad's tours are down to once a week, his stories flat. Elise, still absent her last visit, a quick photo op in a straw hat. Mum called her yesterday, near tears. Elise, the city's going to take the garden. Your sponsors? Where are they? Elise mumbled about delays, promised a big announcement. I overheard Mom later telling Dad, she's trying so hard, Marcus. We just need to hold on. I wanted to scream. She's not trying. It's me. It was always me. But I didn't. I twisted the bracelet, Clara's voice steadying me, and kept quiet. Why fear of looking petty? Hope they'd figure it out, I wasn't sure, but Jamal's words from the coffee shop haunted me. Show the receipts, or she'll keep stealing your light. Elise called me last night, her voice too bright. Nora, you digging into those grants, Mom's freaking out. No guilt, just probing like she sensed I was closing in. I kept it short. Yeah, found some stuff. She paused, then laughed. Cool, let me know. I've got a producer meeting tomorrow. I hung up, my pulse racing. Producer? Another lie. The binder sat on my desk next to the bracelet, daring me to act. The twist came this morning, unexpected and brutal. I was at the garden, raking leaves, when Mrs. Caldwell showed up unannounced, her silver SUV gleaming in the lot. She's 60, sharp-eyed, a retired banker who doesn't miss details. I'd sent her a half-finished report to buy time, but she wasn't here for excuses. She marched over holding a folder. Nora, we need to talk. My stomach knotted. I set the rake down the bracelet, catching the sunlight. Mrs. Caldwell, I'm working on the report. This isn't about the report, she cut in voice like steel. I called Ruth yesterday to confirm funding history. She said Elise has been bankrolling Green Haven. But every grant, every email, every dollar I've seen has your name on it. Explain. I froze the binder in my bag, suddenly heavy. My name. She'd seen it. Not Elise's. Mine. The truth was out, but not how I'd planned. I've been managing the grants, I said, throat dry. Elise hasn't funded anything. Mrs. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. Then why does your mother think otherwise? I don't fund liars, Nora. I'm pulling my support, unless this is cleared up. Today, she handed me her folder copies of my grant, submissions, my emails, my signatures. Proof laid bare. I stammered, I'll talk to Mom. It's a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. It was Elise's lie, Mom's blind faith, my silence. Mrs. Caldwell nodded curt and left. I stood there, clutching the folder, the bracelet's threads pressing into my skin. Clara's voice roared, don't unravel. I wasn't, but the garden might. I called Mom, hands shaking. We need to meet. Now. At the garden. She sounded confused, but agreed. Dad came too, his limp, more pronounced. Elise was busy, so we video called her from the shed. The binder burned in my lap, Mrs. Caldwell's folder beside it. I hadn't planned to do this today, but the donor's ultimatum left no choice. Mom started, voice frayed. Nora, what's this about? Mrs. Caldwell called me furious, said we're lying about funding. I took a breath, the bracelet steadying me. She's right. There's a lie. Elise hasn't been funding Green Haven. I have. Every grant, every dollar, it's mine. I opened the binder, slid it across the table. Pages of my work, my name, my truth. Mom blinked, confused. Dad frowned, flipping through. Elise on the screen went still, her fairy lights dimming her face. Nora, What I never said, I funded it. Mom just assumed. Assumed I snapped voice sharper than I meant. You let her tell the newspaper you're paying for this. You let everyone believe it. You knew it was me. Mom's face crumpled. Nora, that's not true. Elise has been working so hard. Show me one grant with her name, I said, shoving Mrs. Caldwell's folder forward. One email, $1. It's all me. I quit my job, drained my savings, skipped meals. You called her the rot. Dad's voice was low. Nora, why didn't you say something? Why hide it? I laughed, bitter. Hide my names on every document. You didn't look. You saw Elise's posts and believed her. Elise's voice cracked. I didn't mean to take credit. I was just hyping the garden. I thought you were okay with it. Okay, with being erased, I said, the bracelet burning my wrist. You knew, Elise. You let me disappear. Mom reached for me, tears welling. Nora, we didn't know. We're so sorry. I pulled back. Sorry doesn't fix it. Mrs. Caldwell's pulling out unless we own this. And I'm done. Unless things change. I stood binder in hand and walked out. The bracelet felt alive, Clara's strength pulsing. I'd finally spoken, but the garden and my family hung by a thread. The garden's air is thick with dew, the morning light slicing through Asheville's mist. It's 7 a.m., a week, since I dropped the truth in the shed, and Green Haven feels like a held breath. The kale beds are patchy. The city's $5,000 lease deadline looms in 3 days, and my binder of grant records sits untouched on Mom's kitchen table. The woven bracelet is snug on my wrist, its threads worn but fierce like Aunt Clara's voice, whispering, "Don't unravel." I walked out, after showing them my work, my grants, my sacrifices. Elise's lie, but the fallout's heavier than I expected. My family's pushing back, and I'm learning that standing up means holding the line even when it hurts. After the shed meeting, I thought the truth would shift everything. I'd laid it bare. I funded Green Haven, not Elise. My $15,000 grant. My bartered tools, my empty savings account. All mine, not her Instagram glow. Mrs. Caldwell's folder, with my name on every email, backed me up. I expected apologies, maybe gratitude. Instead, I got shock, then defensiveness. Mom cried, "We didn't know." Nora, Dad muttered, "Why hide it?" Elise on the video call stammered, "I didn't mean to take credit." But no one owned it, not really. They saw my binder, my proof, and still clung to Elise's mirage. I haven't been back to the garden since, except for this morning's quick check. I'm not writing grants, not chasing donors, not saving them. My editing gigs, pay my bills, rent groceries, a new lamp for my desk. I'm eating real meals, sleeping past 5 a.m. The woven bracelet, Clara's gift, feels lighter, like it's weaving me back together. But the garden's fading, volunteers, gone tools, rusting the lease, unpaid. Mrs. Caldwell hasn't pulled her support yet, but she's waiting for us to resolve the lie. I'm waiting too for my family to see me, not just my work. The pushback started hours after the shed. Mum called, voice wobbly. "Nora, we're sorry, but the garden's dying. Can you start the grants again? Just until Elise's TV deal comes through?" I almost laughed. Elise's deal, another fantasy like her sponsors. I said, "No, Mum, not until you acknowledge what I did, publicly. And Elise needs to step up." She gasped, like I'd slapped her. "You're holding the garden hostage." "That's not you, Nora." Dad's call was sterner. "You're punishing us for a misunderstanding. We didn't know it was you. Help now, and we'll fix things later." Fix things later. As if my years of being Nora who helps could wait. I held firm. No grants until you tell the truth. To Mrs. Caldwell, the volunteers, everyone. He hung up, muttering about family loyalty. Elise texted next, a long, rambling message. "I'm sorry you feel hurt, Nora. I never meant to steal credit. I was just amplifying the garden's vibe. Can you chill and help, Mum? This isn't about ego." I stared, jaw tight. Amplifying. She'd let Mom call her the rock while I ate canned soup. I didn't reply. I blocked her again, the bracelet's threads grounding me. Clara's words echoed, "Hold things together." I was but not their way. The pressure didn't stop. Volunteers, unaware of the full story, started whispering. "Why's Nora slacking?" "Elise says she's working on a TV show to save us." A neighbor, Miss June, cornered me at the grocery store. "Nora, your mum's heartbroken. Elise is trying. But you're letting the garden fail. Family sticks together." I smiled, said nothing, but my chest burned. They saw Elise's posts, her hero act, and believed it. My binder, my truth was still invisible. Jamal, my carpenter friend, was my lifeline. We met at the coffee shop again, his calloused hands cradling a mug. I told him about the shed, the binder, the family's pushback. He shook his head. "They're gaslighting you, Nora. You showed them the receipts, and they're still begging for Elise's fairy tale. You're not the bad guy for saying no." I twisted the bracelet, its colors catching the light. I feel like I'm killing the garden. Dad's legacy, Clara's dream. "You're not," Jamal said firm. "You're saving yourself. They've got to meet you halfway. Acknowledge you make Elise contribute. Keep that line or they'll walk over you forever." He was right, but it hurt. I'd been the glue, the one who fixed leaks and wrote proposals. Now I was the wall, unyielding. The bracelet felt like Clara's hand on my shoulder, urging me to stand tall. The breaking point came yesterday at a community meeting Mum organized to save Green Haven. I wasn't invited, but Jamal tipped me off. I showed up, binder in hand, the bracelet tight. The shed was packed. Volunteers, neighbors, Mrs. Caldwell, in the back, arms crossed. Mum stood at the front, voice cracking. "We're losing the garden. Elise is working on a TV segment, but we need funds now. Please donate what you can." Elise, on video, from her loft, chimed in all charm. "I'm pitching to big names. This garden's my heart, and I'll save it." The crowd murmured, hopeful. I stood in the doorway, unseen, the bracelet burning. My heart pounded, speak, or stay silent forever. I stepped forward, voice steady. "Elise isn't saving anything." "I am. I wrote every grant, secured every dollar. Here's the proof." I held up the binder, Mrs. Caldwell's folder. "She's been taking credit for my work. I stopped the grants because I'm done being invisible." The room went quiet, eyes wide. Mom froze. Dad stared at the floor. Elise's face flickered, voice shrill. "Nora, that's unfair. I've been promoting us." "Promoting lies," I cut in, tossing the binder on a table. "My name's on every page. Read it." I turned to Mrs. Caldwell. "I'm sorry for the confusion. I should have spoken sooner." Mrs. Caldwell nodded, eyes softening. "I see you, Nora. Fix this and my support stays." Mom's voice broke. "Nora, why here? Why like this?" "Because you wouldn't listen," I said, the bracelet pulsing. "I want 3 things: public acknowledgement of my work, equal respect, and Elise contributing real funds or work. Until then, no grants." I walked out the crowd, parting whispers trailing me. Clara's voice sang, "Don't unravel." That night alone, I tied the bracelet tighter. The garden hung by a thread, but I'd drawn my line. My family could cross it, or let Green Haven die. The garden's morning sun filters through Asheville's pines, warming the freshly turned soil. It's 9 a.m., 2 months since I drew my line at the community meeting, and Green Haven pulses with life kale, sprouting volunteers, laughing the city lease paid. The woven bracelet hugs my wrist, its blue and green threads faded but whole. Like Aunt Clara's voice now, a steady hum, hold things together. My binder of grant records sits in the shed, no longer a weapon, but a testament. I demanded to be seen, and my family finally looked. This is how Green Haven and we grew back. Not perfect, but stronger with every thread in place. After the meeting where I exposed Elise's lie with my binder, I braced for war. I'd set 3 conditions: public acknowledgement of my work, equal respect, and Elise contributing real funds or effort. I walked out expecting pushback, maybe silence. The garden's $5,000 lease was due. Mrs. Caldwell's support hung in the balance, and I wasn't budging. My editing gigs kept me afloat, rent, groceries, a new pair of jeans. The woven bracelet, Clara's gift, felt like armor, reminding me I wasn't the villain for demanding my worth. The first week was chaos. Mum left voicemails tearful, begging me to save the garden and let go of grudges. Dad texted gruff, "Nora, we said sorry. Start the grants. We'll talk later." Elise posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Sunflowers, family is complicated." Volunteers gossiped, split between Nora's selfish, and Elise lied. Miss June, the neighbor, called, scolding me for tearing the family apart. I didn't respond. I met Jamal at the coffee shop. His bluntness, my anchor. "They're testing you," he said, sipping coffee. "Hold that line, Nora. They'll break before you do." He was right. The turning point came when Mrs. Caldwell emailed Mom CCing me. Ruth Nora's grants kept Greenhaven alive. I need confirmation of her role, or my funding ends. The donor's ultimatum, my name not Elise's, forced their hand. Mom called that night voice small. "Nora, we need to talk, really talk. Can you come to the garden tomorrow?" I agreed, bracelet, tight binder ready. The shed felt smaller, just Mom, Dad, me and Elise on video, her loft's fairy lights gone, replaced by a plain wall. Mom started, hands trembling. "Nora, we were wrong. We saw Elise's energy and assumed she was everything. We didn't see you. I'm sorry." Dad nodded, eyes down. "Your grant's your work, we took it for granted. I read the binder. It's all you. We failed you." I waited, breath held. Apologies were a start, but I needed more. Elise spoke, voice shaky, no charm. "Nora, I knew you were doing the grants. I let Mom think it was me because I wanted to be the hero. I was glands to be seen as the one who saved Greenhaven, even if it wasn't true. I'm sorry." Her admission hit hard, not just the lie, but her fear. Elise, the golden influencer, was just a cousin chasing validation like I'd chased theirs. I nodded, throat tight. I needed to hear that. But words aren't enough. I need my conditions met. Mom swallowed. "We'll tell everyone. The volunteers, Mrs. Caldwell, the newspaper. You're the heart of Greenhaven," Dad added, "and we want you treated right. No more favoring Elise." Elise hesitated, then said, "I'll help. For real. I've got a contact, a local brewery. They're interested in sponsoring. I'll make it happen." I studied her wary. No promises, show me results. The bracelet warmed my wrist, Clara's strength steady. I agreed to write one grant to cover the lease, but only after they followed through. They did. Mom drafted a newsletter sent to every volunteer and donor. Nora's tireless grants and leadership saved Greenhaven. We wrongly credited Elise, and we're sorry. The Asheville Citizen-Times ran a correction naming me as the garden's backbone. Mrs. Caldwell called satisfied and doubled her donation. Volunteers apologized, some sheepish, others awed, passing me the binder like a relic. Miss June hugged me teary. "I didn't know, Nora. You're the real deal." Elise came through surprising me. She secured $3,000 from the brewery, enough to buy new tools and seeds. She showed up to weed her manicured nails, dirt streaked, no camera in sight. At a volunteer workday, she pulled me aside, voice low. "I didn't get how much you carried. I'm trying to be better." I saw her then, not a villain but a cousin, learning to share the load. I nodded, the bracelet soft against my skin. The garden bloomed again. Dad resumed, tours his limp lighter. Mum's laugh returned fuller. Volunteers planted zucchini, kids chased butterflies. I wrote grants again, but part-time, my editing work now a priority. I moved to a bigger apartment, hung a sunflower painting by the door. The bracelet stayed on its threads, a quiet vow, never fade again. At our next harvest festival, the garden thrummed, bluegrass jam stalls, kids painting gourds. Mum and Dad stood together, announcing Nora and Elise, our daughters keep Greenhaven alive. Equal. I caught Elise's eye, her smile genuine. No filters. We weren't perfect, but we were weaving together thread by thread. That night, I sat on my couch bracelet under the lamp. Its colors glowed worn but vibrant like Clara's dream. I'd thought love meant giving everything, staying unseen. I learned it means standing firm, demanding your place, and trusting the weave will hold. Greenhaven taught me my worth isn't in my silence, but in my voice, loud, clear, and mine. If you've ever felt invisible, know this, your work matters, but so do you. Draw your line, speak your truth, and don't unravel. The right people will see you, and the weave will grow stronger for it.